Peninsula is a steaming pile of... Okay, you know what? Nope. I'm gonna be professional. I'm gonna chill.
Peninsula is a soul-sucking abyss of torment and despair.
Whoa. As a professional, not possessed. I really need to relax. Peninsula is a new zombie thriller. I shouldn't say new. It was released a few months ago in limited theaters, and then now it's streaming on VOD. Actually called Train To Busan Presents Peninsula, which should tell you right there that it is a direct sequel to Train To Busan, which is a zombie thriller that came out in 2016. This was written and directed, I think, by the same person, Liang or Li Sang-ho. Yang, it's just the same person. Just look that up for me. Same person, I'm pretty sure. Train to Busan is one of the greatest zombie movies of all time, in my humble opinion. And if you haven't seen Train to Busan, you should check that movie out. Trust me, just go check it out. Your life will improve because of this. I guarantee it. If your life doesn't improve, well, I mean, you already clicked on the video, so it's tough. The Peninsula takes place 4 years after the events in Train to Busan. The story here follows a former soldier and some other people that he has kind of lumped into a group with. They have to leave Hong Kong and they have to travel to this peninsula that they used to live in but has since become overrun by the dead. They have to find and deliver this truck that's filled with millions of dollars in cash. They have to deliver that back to Hong Kong. As you can imagine, shit does not go their way. Gonna be honest with you guys, this section of the video is going to be really short. Not that there isn't stuff to like about this movie, but it's one of those days where I wish I could skip the things that I like and get to the things that I don't like. For some reason, I have to come up with some stupid facade of being fair, so here are some things that I liked about this movie. For one thing, I do think that the performances in the movie are fine. They're not great, they're not earth-shattering, they're not spectacular. You're not going to be blown away by any of the performers here, but for the material that they're given, I thought they all did a capable job. In general, I actually felt like the actresses in the film shined a lot more than their male counterparts. I do appreciate that they changed the setting and the location of Train to Busan. I like the fact that they expanded this world a little bit. If you're looking for cinematography that will remind you of post-apocalyptic shit, I mean, this is Last of Us, The Walking Dead, Days Gone pornography. I mean, you're looking at cars in the middle of roads and bridges destroyed and grass growing out of who knows where. If you're into that kind of thing, then you'll appreciate some of the shot selection that they chose for this movie, as well as the new setting and location, and the fact that they didn't try to rehash everything that went right with the first movie. Yeah, sure, there's gonna be some comparisons because it's kind of hard to avoid it when you have the first one being as great as it was, and because this is a direct sequel. This movie not being as good as the first one has really nothing to do with whether or not it's a good or bad movie. It doesn't have to be as good as the first one to be a good movie. This movie is not a bad movie because of that. It's a bad movie because it's a bad movie, and there are plenty of reasons why. For one thing, we have to start with the shoddy and deplorable use of the characters in this movie. In particular, all sense of development, characterization for these people is just kind of thrown out the window and not really paid that much attention to. It's not that these characters are bad, it's just that they're so bland and uninteresting. It feels like the movie does the bare minimum in terms of making them interesting people. This is most readily apparent with the main character in the movie, who basically has resting emo guilt face the entire movie. Normally, I'd be okay with that if it led to something compelling with his character, but unfortunately, it doesn't really do that. There's really nothing about his guilt in this movie that really compels him into being a more interesting or likable character. In fact, there are some parts of his guilt and the way that it's manufactured and some of his motivations in this movie that are not always clear and are written very inconsistently, i.e. very poorly. They also do a poor job of really developing the relationships between the main character and the other characters in this movie. So again, when certain things are happening in the film, there's this unearned sense of emotion that the movie just definitely doesn't pay off. And that is another thing that I can say is not really as good as the first movie. There's not really a lot of emotional resonance. That could just be due to the structure of the story itself. I mean, it sets up as basically a heist movie gone wrong in a zombie apocalypse. Father reconnecting with his daughter in the middle of a zombie outbreak. That's what the first one was about. So by its very nature, I suppose you could say that the emotional stakes of this second one are considerably lower and far less interesting. Finally, let's address the zombie elephant in the room at the moment. The action scenes overall in this movie are not really all that good. I don't mean that there's not entertainment to be had there. I just mean visually, the action in this movie is kind of ugly. It's not just the horrific green screen that is in in use at times. It's also the blatant over-digitalization of the CGI in these action scenes. It just takes me out of the movie every time. So many parts of this movie look so fake, especially in the chase sequences. Like, I haven't seen this many CGI cars since Furious 7. And unfortunately, I don't see Dom's big bald head ass in this movie talking about family, family, family. At least then, maybe it could have been a somewhat interesting watch. Now, is this movie as good as the first one? No. Fuck no. The fuck? Again, it didn't have to be as good as the first one to be a good movie. It could have just been its own thing and I would have appreciated it. By the way, anybody that does think this one is better than the first one, I think should be submitted to an immediate drug test, like expeditiously. Kidding about the drug test, people. Although I will say that you should stay away from drugs. Although a little coke every now and then didn't hurt anybody. When you have full, fake-looking digital CGI scenes that remind me of the early to mid-2000s in terms of I can't really believe anything real is happening right now, you combine that with a lack of emotion in its story and lack of emotion within its characters, I was just left uninterested for most of this movie, and I probably would have said it was just an average movie, but then the ending is so overindulgent and unearned that I had to go lower here. Peninsula is one of the most disappointing sequels of 2020. I'm gonna leave this guilty pleasure in Smallville. Those are my thoughts on Peninsula, so tell me, if you were in a zombie apocalypse, who are you shacking up with? What's your limit in terms of people in your party, and how long do you think you could survive? Give me your answer in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and as always, if you like what you see, tell me how you feel, and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.